We have lots to discuss in today's video, including the latest trade talk around the NHL. We're taking a look at the comments made from multiple Canuck players, including JT Miller and Elias Pettersson, leading to further speculation about their relationship and how the team may not have a choice but to choose one. We'll discuss the latest on that saga. Plus, could the New York Rangers and Boston Bruins swing a major trade at the deadline if the Rangers remain out of the playoff hunt? And could the Maple Leafs use Nick Robertson as a trade piece to gain their 3C that they're looking for to be ready for the postseason? Plus, Matt Rempe facing a major suspension, the biggest suspension in approximately 6 years. Plus all that and some injury updates around the NHL coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have lots to discuss here today. Let's kick things off with the major news coming from the Department of NHL Player Safety. Rangers forward Matt Rempe suspended for 8 games. Now, I did do a video on this on the channel earlier when the news first broke. In case you missed it, you can check that out if you want a little bit more in-depth analysis. But essentially, Matt Rempe, as we know, doesn't play a lot and hasn't played a ton of games, but he's been in hot water multiple times. He was suspended not long ago. 4 games. He's considered a repeat offender. And this hit against Dallas Stars defenseman Muriel, to me, like I said, I think it's avoidable, it's unnecessary, and on his part, to me, it's just dumb. Yes, there's a size difference. He's a massive human being. He's bigger than most guys in the league, so you have to be careful. Just because he's bigger, to me, doesn't give him the right to be taking people's heads off. Heiskanen has his back to him the entire time, multiple strides. It's a boarding call, it's an elbowing call, and it's a hit from behind. It's just completely, it's reckless and it's stupid. Like, he comes from behind, like I said, Heiskanen's numbers are facing him the whole time, and then as he gets close to finish the hit, he gets the arm up and the elbow and a chicken wing, and he's done that multiple times. The same thing with Siegenthaler with New Jersey. This kid has to learn that he can check hard, but he has to check clean, and that is not a clean play at all. Now, I know some people are saying, the NHL needs a bad guy, an antagonist. It's a good role. Sure, I get that. Makes for intriguing storylines. But, I'm all for players, health and not having a ton of brain injuries and having their brain scrambled by a 6'8", goon who can't really even play hockey all that well, except for to go out there and run around and, chicken wing people's brains here. So to me, I'm just not a fan of what Rempe brings. I think it's unnecessary. I know a lot of teams have their deterrents or your guys out there that can fight and kind of, keep things kind of toned down. You got your Ryan Reeves and your Oliviers and those kind of guys. They don't necessarily, do they maybe occasionally do something across the line? Sure, but they're not headhunters, so I don't know. I fully agree with the suspension. It's going to keep getting worse for him. Obviously, they have a multiplier in there. If he gets nailed anytime in the next year and a half again, he's probably going to double again to 16 games. Or we could be seeing something like Tom Wilson had back, he was given 20 games. I think it was 6 years ago or something like that. So, anyways, completely unnecessary. They've given him a major ban here. He's going to lose, I think, about $80,000 in money. It hurts the pocketbook. We'll see if he learns from it, makes adjustments to his game. On to some roster moves. The Blue Jackets announced a variety of moves here today. Justin Danforth has been moved to injured reserve. They've recalled goalie Jet Greaves on emergency conditions. They've also returned Jay Malatesta to the American Hockey League and brought up defenseman Denton Matejchuk, obviously one of their top prospect D in their system. We'll get a shot here at the NHL. Couple updates out of Ottawa. Of course, they're on a 9-game road trip, which will be broken up by 5 days at home over the Christmas break, but they're just finishing the first leg of it, which is a 4-game swing in Western Canada tonight. Of course, they're in Edmonton. They played in Vancouver last night. They've already played the Calgary Flames on this road trip here as well. They lost Michael Amadio. I'm not sure exactly what kind of timelines. He left last night's game, did not return. He was in concussion protocol, so clearly concussion was a concern. He's not playing today. So again, those types of injuries, it's really difficult to say, but he got tangled up with Canuck defenseman Vinny Desharnais behind the net. And again, same sort of thing. There was no call, nothing from player safety, but he basically got pushed with an elbow into the glass face first. So not a good scene. And then today in the first period of the game against the Oilers today, Linus Ullmark played really well, but did leave the game. He didn't come out for the second period, and they announced he was done for the day with some sort of upper body injury. Ullmark has been the top goaltender in the NHL in the month of December, right up there with the best of the best, and it was a huge part of their run that they've been on this winning streak. And if he's going to be out for any length of time, that could be a major blow. Levi Merilainen's in there playing now. He played well last night and won, but still gave up 4 goals. They had to score more to keep it, winnable. But at the same time, Edmonton right now, as I record this video, they're leading the Sens 2-1 after 2 periods of play. It's a close game, but we'll see. And regardless of what happens in this game, the Sens have had a remarkable run and a great road trip. So dropping one game, if it does happen, it's not the end of the world. But for Ullmark's sake, with being such a big part of that team and the turnaround, if he's out for any length of time, it could be bad news for them. But like I said, he's got 5 days off to rest, and we don't know the extent of the injury or what he's dealing with. Will he be fine to play on the other side of the break? That'll be the big thing, because Forsberg's also out right now, and they're technically the number 3 guy. Mads Søgaard is also in the minors injured, so Merilainen is their theoretically number 4 guy. It's not an ideal situation at all, but we'll see where things go. Clearly, like I said, they're probably looking forward to getting through this next period, hopefully without anything further injury-wise, and getting back home for their Christmas 5-day break. Now, in Calgary, some news updates as well. Apparently, Brad Larson, their assistant coach, has been given a indefinite leave of absence due to family reasons, so we're not sure how long he's going to be out, but it sounds like it's possible that it could be for an extended time, maybe even the rest of the year. We don't know. Because they brought up American Hockey League head coach Trent Cull. He becomes the interim assistant coach, and then the assistant coach down in the Wranglers team, Joe Sorella, he's going to be the temporary head coach of the Wranglers. So don't know exactly what's going on with Larson or his family. Certainly want to extend our thoughts, because obviously, it sounds like it's a serious thing for him to leave the team for an extended time like that. For them to actually replace him on the bench indicates to me that it's probably a long-term thing, but we don't really know. So we'll have to wait and see where things go, and maybe people will revert to their old roles if he can return in the not-too-distant future. Now, on the rumor mill, I want to start with the Canucks. The Canucks, of course, played the Sens last night. After the game, they did get a chance immediately to speak with Pettersson. Miller was nowhere to be found. He did speak to the media today. And, of course, Vancouver media, I understand that players are annoyed by it, and some fans might be annoyed by it as well. But the amount of details and stories and talk around these two and their relationship lately, unfortunately, the questions to Pettersson wasn't really about the game. They were talking about, him addressing the reports that have been out there about him and Miller's relationship. And all he really said was that people are basically stirring shit up. And that was his really only comment. The second question was, I couldn't quite hear the reporter very well, but it was something about, is it a distraction to the team or something like that? Anyways, he just kind of said, "Are you kidding me?" And he walked out. So he took 2 questions. They were both related to the Miller relationship, and he got pissy and left. And I understand why he might be annoyed, but to me, it's not a good look for him. You already had comments from head coach Rick Tocchet and Captain Quinn Hughes, both acknowledge that those 2 guys have had their issues in the past. They've had their issues now, and it's a situation where they think they can still, like Quinn Hughes was asked, can this situation work together? And he said absolutely that he thinks it can. But acknowledge that there is a real problem, and they've been working through it, and they think they can get through it. But then Pettersson comes out, and then Miller today, he talks to the media as well. And again, he says that the reports of him and Pettersson said it wasn't really anything, that the reporters are just, people are kind of making things up, and completely downplayed it. Said, if you want, I can bring PD out here, and we can do the interview together if that would make you guys happy. I acknowledge that was asked about the lack of production from both guys, and he said that, he's trying to play a good 200-foot game. The points will come when the points come. That part was fine. But just like Miller and Pettersson completely almost pretending that this issue doesn't exist and not acknowledging anything when you've already had your head coach and your captain publicly speak about it. And as much as their words weren't really like super concerning, is the fact that they acknowledge that there is a real thing and it's not a made up story from the media. And then the way they handled it, it just doesn't look good. It looks, to me, from what we're hearing from reporters, that it's a major distraction. It's leaking into the room. It dates back a couple of years ago before they traded Bo Horvat. There was reports of Horvat and Miller, again, not getting along. It was almost like the room was divided into two sides. Because at the time, Horvat was the captain, and it was almost like you had the Horvat side and the Miller side. Obviously, Horvat got traded. I don't think that rift necessarily was what led to the Horvat trade. Obviously, Horvat was up for a new contract. He was having a career season. I don't think the team believed that he was going to be able to repeat that, and that the money he was looking for based on that season was, they just couldn't justify it. And to be honest, I think they made the right move. As much as Horvat was a great Canuck, a good player, good two-way guy, seemed to be a good leader from what I could tell, but I don't really know them inside out. He's gone on to play well for the Islanders, but is he worth that contract? You could maybe debate that he's not, that he got overpaid by a career season. So, but he certainly hasn't been horrible by any means. He's a really good player, but they obviously didn't feel like the asking price was worth it for them, and that signing Miller was better value for them. And clearly Miller's put up some fantastic numbers since Horvat's departure as well. So at the end of the day, you got to think that they, at least statistically, performance-wise, I don't know about the room and the off-ice stuff, but it looked like they made the right choice. And then, we're hearing about this Pettersson stuff a bit last year, and then this year, and then Miller had to take, obviously, a leave from the team, which was just, nobody really knows, but a lot of people are speculating it's connected to that. It's just bizarre. And the more this story goes on, the more it looks like the team is going to have to, the only way to get rid of the drama is to pick and move one of them. And you would think, though, like we've heard some people say, like, even you can think the comments from Rick Tocchet, like they don't have to go to dinner together. They don't have to play PlayStation together. They have to have a professional working relationship on the ice that can coexist. And that's really all it has to be. You know what? I've been in the sports community my whole life. I've played on teams with people that I was great friends with, some people that I really wasn't friends with at all, and away from the team didn't care for at all. But you put all that stuff aside, you play, and you figure out a way to coexist. You don't have to be best buddies. Like, I see it all the time. So they need to find a way to put it aside and to be able to play through it, because if it's clearly affecting their play, and, just it leads the story to go further and further and further to the point where you wonder, are they going to have to pick? Now, you would think, I would say in season, there's no chance we see a trade, depending on how the year goes for the Canucks. Because, they're not even guaranteed playoffs at this point. They've been having a good season, but not a great season. Definitely a step back from where they were last year. And if this impacts things to the point that they miss the playoffs, they're going to be asking some serious questions. And it just leads us to think, maybe there is a problem there. So we'll see. I know out of Toronto, Nick Robertson's been playing a lot better. So there's some further speculation that maybe the Leafs should consider trading when his value is at the highest peak. Obviously, at the beginning of the year, he had a real slow start. Some were wondering, does he have a future here? But sometimes teams don't want to give up on players and sell too low. Clearly that can be a problem, right? You don't want to move an asset for, way less than you ever hoped for, and then have them go on to find their game somewhere else, and then you feel like you made a mistake. In the case of Nick Robertson, he, like I said, early on, that was where the Leafs were at with him. But now we're at a spot where he's playing a lot better and he's producing. So obviously, while he's doing that, you're probably reluctant to move him. But there's, most insiders feel like the most logical move for the Leafs to prepare for the playoffs is to add a 3C, especially if there's any doubt at all over the health of Austin Matthews, who's again out with whatever this mystery injury is that he missed time for in November. That's got to concern them, because clearly down the middle was the area of focus already. And we don't know that Matthews is going to be out for any length of time. Maybe he's out for a week or two. Maybe we don't know. There's a little bit of a few days off here for Christmas. So we don't really know the long-term effects here and where this is going to lead to for Toronto. But if he is going to be out for any length of time, I wonder if that'll ramp things up to maybe have them push to go find that centerman earlier ahead of the deadline than they may have otherwise. And with Robertson playing well lately, some people think that it's a prime opportunity to sell while the value is higher to bring in that other piece. That long-term Robertson's been inconsistent so far. History will indicate that might still be the case, that he's always going to be that way. You don't know, right? So we'll have to see where it goes. But, Robertson is a player to watch for sure. I know that he's playing better with the Leafs. Leaf fans probably don't want to hear about a trade, but at the same time, if it makes your team better, you got to think about it. I did see a report about the Colorado Avalanche having interest in Robertson as well. I think that report's probably a little bit dated, though. That's probably from earlier in the season before he kind of caught fire. And obviously at that point, the Leafs might have considered trading him for a draft pick or a prospect or something of that nature. But the Avalanche are not going to be subtracting from their roster. They're making, full steam ahead here, trying to contend in the playoffs too. So if they're going to pick up a player like Robertson, they're going to do so for a future-based trade. Whereas Toronto's not going to get that 3C out of them. So it's difficult to say if that could even work. But I did see a report on that, but I think the information there might be a little dated. Now, the ESPN article we talked about yesterday, like I said, it wasn't rumors about players and trades that were going to happen or they thought could happen. It was more an opinion-based article about some key names that have been in the rumor mill and where they could end up, what trades could look like, kind of some predictions, if you will. And one of the ones we didn't talk about yesterday was the Rangers and Bruins maybe hooking up on a deal, and it suggested Chris Kreider to the Boston Bruins. Now, the Rangers right now, they lost again to the Hurricanes. I believe they're 5 points behind the Senators for the final playoff spot in the Eastern Conference. If that continues, we know that there could be further trades around the Rangers. Been lots of speculation about other names that are floating around out there, with Kreider's name being one of them. Obviously, he does have some trade protection in his contract. A lot of people believe, though, if he was presented with an opportunity to go to Boston, that would probably be one of the areas that he would accept. Clearly, the Bruins are in a playoff spot, but right now, compared to teams that they're kind of neck and neck with, like the Lightning and the Senators, they've played way more games. Their win percentage is lower. They do have more points, but they could easily slip out of the top three into wild card 1 or 2 with a couple of game shift. It wouldn't take a lot at this point in time to do that. Like, for example, if the Sens can find a way to beat the Oilers tonight, they'd jump into third place in that division, push Boston to a wildcard team. Right now, those teams all have a small cushion on the rest of the pack, so it's take a little bit before they'd be in danger of missing. But the Bruins, we know they want to be aggressive. We know they want to be in the playoffs. Going after a guy like Kreider might be a good move. Of course, it's been a while since we've seen these two teams make a big deal. The Rick Nash trade, of course, going to the Bruins, that didn't really work out at the time, but these two teams have hooked up before, although it's been a while and different people running those franchises. But the actual article suggests the fact that the Bruins, if the Bruins look like they might be fringe team, maybe not quite guaranteed to playoffs, because where Kreider has a little bit of term in his contract, maybe they make the trade not only for this year but the future. And would they consider dangling Brad Marchand? I really don't think that's the case. I can't see it. Like, he is a pending UFA. I think what is he going on 36, 37 years old? Like, maybe the Bruins bring him back, maybe they don't. I think they kind of want to see how things play out here, but I don't see them subtracting. If the Bruins are going to add Kreider to the mix, I don't think there's any way they offer up a big roster player like their captain. Now, will they have the assets to make the Rangers want to pull the trigger? That's going to be the tough part. I don't know that they will. It would be really, really difficult without giving up a player of, value off your roster like that. They don't have a ton of future-based prospects. Would they want to include Matt Poitras? Probably not, but they might have to if they want to make that kind of move. It's difficult to say, right? So as much as the fit seems like it could match and you can kind of see, how things could work, it's also from a, not only cap perspective, but asset management perspective, could it actually work out? It's difficult to kind of piece it all together, but either way, that's what the article suggests. I can see where they got the rationale, just not entirely convinced logistically that it's going to work. But let me know what you think down in the comments. We'll discuss further. If you're new to the channel, of course, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with the latest news, rumors, and analysis of all 32 NHL teams. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.